Hi, this is the SpaceNavigator. It's from 3D Connection and it's $59. It allows you to control 3D imagery within a computer by manipulating this cap on top. It's very heavy, has a nice blue light. You can pull the cap up, push it down, nudge it backwards, forwards, and twist it, and in that way control 3D objects or fly through 3D scenes. Today we're going to show it working with Adobe Photoshop CS3. So here we have an image of a dragon, but it's a very special image of a dragon in Adobe Photoshop CS3 because if you look down here, I can actually rotate the dragon. Because the dragon is actually a 3D model within Photoshop. And I am currently in 3D mold, and I am rotating the dragon by using the SpaceNavigator. Let me explain what it takes to control the dragon within Photoshop. I have a set of controls on the top that I can click and drag to position the dragon in one direction, or I can rotate the dragon in another direction, or I can switch, transform the dragon up and down. I can go ahead and bring the dragon closer and out, but each actual step takes a separate click of a separate tool, allowing me to manipulate the dragon in only incremental ways. But with the SpaceNavigator, I twist, I tilt, I pull it in, and I can tilt it at the same time, and it's as if my dragon comes alive right here within Photoshop. Rawr. So anyway, let's bring it back to the center here, clicking on the home button. And let's take our dragon and see what we can also do with it in Photoshop. First is, I can go ahead and, because it's a Photoshop layer, I can manipulate this as a 2D image as well by going ahead and hitting Save and hitting Apply Transformation. Now I'm in the 2D version of Photoshop, and I can manipulate the image with my SpaceNavigator by nudging the camera up, pulling the knob down, and pushing it up and down, pushing it back and bringing it towards me. And I can also position these or configure the behavior of my SpaceNavigator to match the way I wish to work. So if I'm pushing it left or right or up or down on the cap as I'm doing right now, and I want to change the spin direction or the direction that the image moves, I can do all of that through the control panel. Now the other thing, because I'm in Photoshop, we can add layers. So my 3D object is actually just an element layered between two other objects. Now my dragon is in the ocean, and that can be fun, and we can still go back and control our dragon as a 3D object within a set of 2D layers, as I'm doing now. We can have our dragon come out of the ocean. More like a video game now, isn't it? So let's go ahead and pull him in. It's a happy dragon, I tell you. So why did they do this in Photoshop? Well, they took Photoshop as a way to control texture maps for people who do a lot of 3D work. This can be a great advantage. And we can go ahead and actually get to the texture map. I'm going to show you here. First, again, I have to save once I'm done doing a transformation. And here there are texture maps in the Layers palette, one called Texture 1, which I double click and it brings it up. Now I'm actually in Photoshop still and manipulating the image as I was before by pulling up and down and nudging left and right and using the SpaceNavigator. So I control the SpaceNavigator with my left hand, and I control my tablet or cursor or whatever with my right hand. Oh, there's, I made a little inadvertent sketch there onto the image. But so let's say I want to take my dragon and do a little adjusting to the texture maps. I want to draw here in the teeth to give him bloody teeth. You know, we want to make him an angry dragon. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the brush tool. I'm going to grab the color red, and the other thing I'm doing right now is I'm controlling the brush size by twisting the cap on my SpaceNavigator. So here I come along, we got a quite nice little rosy red for the tips of the dragon's teeth. And I can make the brush size bigger or smaller by actually twisting the cap, as you see right here. And this is a kind of nifty way to go. So I'm able to actually kind of come in and zoom the imagery with my left hand, control the brush cap, the brush size with my left hand, make some little changes to the teeth, giving our dragon some red teeth. I don't want to see that just yet. He's not going to be a real good dragon unless he actually has a red mouth too. So we want to give him nice red lips. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch along here, make his mouth kind of red. We'll make sure there's blood dripping from his mouth there. Let's go get the other side. And it's so natural and fun to work this way because you kind of control the image with your left hand and you draw with your right hand, and it's just, you know, almost sort of that virtual coloring book experience. Like a little brush size here, where you sort of control the coloring book with your left hand and you have your crayon in your right hand to make it even more silly. So you have to save the texture map, and the real joy is then you come on back and you look in your 2D images and oh look, we have a very angry dragon right there. So it's a very two-handed workflow. Once again, I can come in here and click on the dragon, and now I can control the dragon's 3D object with my left hand and twist him around. Oh, look at him, he is an angry dragon. Bring him up and out of the ocean, and then I can save that and come back and work on my texture map and continue to do adjustments at a very fine level. We're giving a little more red there. Quick file save. And then I see a little more update, and we see we have a little more red right there on the side of our dragon's lips. So that's how it works in Photoshop CS3. The SpaceNavigator gives you the ability to control 2D objects, as I'm doing here, panning and zooming around. Or I can double click on the 3D object and actually control my 3D object within the scene, much as I might a video game almost.